I'm a firm believer in the idea that no medium is inherently superior to any other, but some mediums are better than others at individual things. The clearest example of that can be found in video games, where the interactive elements are the core of the medium. There's a reason the Avengers is a defining franchise of pop cinema and a juggernaut of the comics industry, but the Avengers game bled out within a month of its release. So what is the best way video games can utilize their strengths over any other medium? Well, for my money, it's telling stories about mental health. That shouldn't be too surprising, considering there's an entire genre of depression games, many of which are excellent and some of which I've already talked about offhand or in full videos. And now I'm going to do another. But there's a difference with this one. Most stories I talk about use metaphor or theming to explore their thesis, and while that isn't completely absent this time, this game doesn't exactly obscure what it's about. And I'm not going to either. This video is going to get personal because this game is personal. This video won't mean a lot to people who aren't interested in emotional journeys of pain that come with being a mentally ill person in their early 20s, because this game doesn't resonate in the same way to people who didn't or aren't going through the emotionally painful journey inherent to being a mentally ill person in their early 20s. But for the people who it speaks to them. So if you're interested in hearing me talk about the way a game can portray, evoke, and even help process specific emotions to such a strong degree, read the trigger warnings at the beginning of the video or in the description, and then if you're still here, we can talk about Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods began development in late 2013 after a successful Kickstarter that earned developers Infinite Fall $200,000. Two short companion games, Longest Night and Lost Constellation, were released between the funding of Night in the Woods and its release in 2017. Night in the Woods follows Margaret May Borowski as she returns to her hometown of Possum Springs, a small mining town located somewhere in the Rust Belt after May dropped out of college due to a mental breakdown. May suffers from depression and severe dissociation and delusions, and she spends the vast majority of her time just trying to keep herself going and not succumb to the lies her brain tells her. To facilitate that, she takes as much pressure off herself as possible by moving back in with her parents and spending her days reconnecting with her high school friends and the other people from around the town. May's main friend group consists of Bee, a bitter employee of her family's hardware store, who effectively runs the place after her dad shut down following her mom's death. Greg, a happy-go-lucky doer of crimes who works at a convenience store, and Angus, a quiet and nerdy guy who works the day shift at a video store. May has complicated and often fraught relationships with just about everyone in her life, and slowly starts to patch things up or form new dynamics over the course of a few weeks. The first half of Night in the Woods has May aimlessly drift through days as she reacclimates to a place she thought she left behind, while the second half of the game introduces a ghost murder mystery that May's friends begrudgingly indulge in, despite believing the ghosts are all in May's head. Unraveling the mystery leads to the discovery that there's a cult of dads who kidnap undesirables from Possum Springs and feed them to an eldritch god that lives underneath the town to keep it from falling to ruin. But that's not actually what Night in the Woods is about. Night in the Woods is about May trying not to get consumed by paranoia while dealing with the fallout of people in her life not understanding why she dropped out of college without notice or seemingly any reason. Night in the Woods is about the way depression can make you into a jerk while sapping your energy and making you seem like a lazy burnout. Night in the Woods is about letting go of parts of your past that only cause you pain, and about how community can help a person through some tough times so long as that community is focused on people and not just ideas or places. With that out of the way, are you ready for things to get uncomfortably personal? Because things are about to get uncomfortably personal. I played Night in the Woods when I needed it most, the summer after I dropped out of college due to my misdiagnosed bipolar II disorder becoming unmanageable, resulting in a psychotic break that got me dropped from my major. I was where May was, and seeing my feelings and emotions reflected in a game by a character who I share a number of traits with at a time where my life resembled hers, suffice it to say, it was a valuable experience. Part of the reason I can relate to May, beyond the obvious, is because of some of the bizarrely specific things. I'm not sure how relatable an experience it is for your gay friends to have moved out of their parents' houses and into an apartment while you were in college, causing them to be closer and inadvertently spend less time with you, but it happened to me. It's probably more common to feel guilty because you can't give what you squandered to a friend who didn't have the opportunities you did, but that isn't portrayed frequently in media about mental illness. My sexuality isn't exactly the same as May's, but caring about a person's ability to relate to you in one very specific and personal way and the irrelevance of their gender or physical attractiveness? Yeah, that's me. And look at her jump up on the kitchen countertop whenever she goes to talk to her mom who's always reading a book. That scene is played out over and over exactly like that in my real life since I was tall enough to hop up there. There are barely a handful of stories that portray queer mentally ill characters, and even fewer that aren't misguided or insidious, especially when Night in the Woods came out. Of the stories I've seen that accurately and effectively reflect my life, Night in the Woods is the one I recommend to people who want that experience. The bar to entry is low, so people aren't locked out of playing it due to a lack of skill or disinterest in the medium, and it's completely upfront with what it's about. Plenty of stories, including stories I love, are about mental illness, but very few are so overt with it. Night in the Woods is blunt. It doesn't hide behind euphemism or metaphor, and it is more than happy to make you sit and wallow. It is here to reflect the frustrating and draining reality of living a life like May's, as well as the moments of levity and relief that you'll miss if you don't actively and repeatedly try to do things. It's a game built around commiseration and catharsis, and it made me feel less alone at a time when my life was completely out of control. Night in the Woods works because you control May. You have to piece together May's life. You have to choose who to talk with and how to communicate with them. You have to find a way to get through the day. If this was a more conventionally told story, it would still be compelling, but it wouldn't be as effective at portraying a mental state that's very hard to just explain. Interaction and the limits Night in the Woods places on it creates a verisimilitude of living with May's condition, and that extends past just showing what it's like to be in the midst of a mental health crisis. Night in the Woods doesn't end with everything neatly wrapped up. The cult of murder dads is probably still alive in that cave, for the time being at least. The elder god underneath the town is presumably still hungry, and May didn't become magically healthy after confronting the source of her mental illness. But things are starting to get manageable. May is ready to talk to her parents about why she dropped out of college. She made up with Bee and the two are planning a road trip together. Her friends understand, accept, and are looking for ways to help her deal with her mental illness. May broke free from the stagnation that consumed her. She doesn't really have concrete plans for the future, she's still sleeping through most of her days, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. But she isn't trapped by college or Possum Springs or her brain anymore. And yeah, that's what being in remission is like. You don't know how to feel, you're not sure what to do about the massive thing that you're still trying to process, you kind of just want to put off thinking about it until tomorrow. Song and pizza sounds good.